Have you ever wondered how to cash out from your investment property to buy another investment property like this user over here, Gamers Combined, asking, hey Q, would you equity cash out on an investment and use it towards a deposit to a home loan? That's how I did it to build my 8 property portfolio. Let me show you how. So check out this diagram over here drawn for you guys called the equity loop. For example, you have a PPOR many years ago and you use the equity in here to buy your first investment property. We're focused on the structure of just using investment property to buy another investment property. And this is zero cash from your wallet. This is all from the bank and leveraging that to gain and maximize negative gearing. So what it looks like is a few years later, after you purchase your investment property, which for example was like $1 million, you borrowed 80%, which is 800K. Okay. This is time, so time has passed. What happened is this investment property is now worth $1.2 million. So what happens is we can now leverage 80% of $1.2 million. So the original loan will be 800K, which is this over here. But because we can borrow 80% against the new value, we now have created 160K equity. Now, the next step in the equity loop is then you either go back to your existing bank to do an internal refinance to pull out the 160K to purchase your second investment property, or you go to a new bank if the existing bank can't give you a better rate and you refinance and pull out that equity. Then you use the 160K and you get this figure and you divide it by 0.25. Excuse my poor writing. So the reason it's 0.25 because you want to buy the other property at 80% because you want to stay away from mortgage insurance. So that's 20% there. But then the 160K has to pay for some form of stamp duty and miscellaneous costs. So I've counted for 5%. So you get 160K divided by 0.25. You should come with a figure of $640,000 for your next second investment property. And what happens here, this will pay for the 20% plus stamp duty. But then with the new bank, which you either go with the same bank or new bank and borrow the 80%, and theoretically you've borrowed 105% all from the bank, zero money down from your wallet. And the next phase of the equity loop is basically you do this whole process again. You wait for time to accumulate equity in this property, and then you basically equity loop this over and over again until obviously you reach the peak of your personal borrowing capacity, which is the ability of the bank to borrow your money based on your personal level, your personal income. But you can go into a new loop, which is a more advanced level called the trust structure equity loop, where these properties are owned by trust structures, which with certain non-banks, if the properties are owned by certain trust structures and in the 12 months trading history has been performing well and your accountant can produce a letter that it is trading profitably, some banks can ignore the debt, which makes this trust equity loop structure very lethal if you're trying to accumulate more and more properties that is beyond your personal level. But with great power comes great responsibility. So I'm not going to tell you about it unless you jump in the comments and go, give me part 2.